Alright everybody, sorry it took me so long to get this posted. So here are the translations, the transcriptions from the dictations I did in class. I think it was 5th period I said él estaba durmiendo instead of just estaba, so that would be the one difference there. Anyway, if you want to be able to copy those down, go ahead and just hit pause on the video and get that done. Otherwise, I'm going to move forward. It hailed, cayó granizo. I don't need to say it. It's implied. The bird scared me. El pájaro, I think that's one of your hojas de your a ver si recuerdas verbs or words. El pájaro me asustó. And asustó is because the bird is the one doing the scaring, but who did he scare? Me. And that is an indirect object pronoun. I'm receiving the action of this verb right here. Moving on. They climbed the rock. Ellos. I used ellos for all of the theys. So get that in your head. It could also theoretically be ellas, okay? Ellos escalaron la roca. They climbed the rock. You could have also said subieron la roca. We took refuge in the cave. Nos refugiamos en la cueva. And he impressed me. Again, I'm the one that received the action of the impressing, but he's the one that did the impressing. So, él me impresionó. All right, so I'm going to move this. So they appeared. Ellos aparecieron. Did you get lost? ¿Te perdiste? We lost our balance. Sorry about that typo there. Nos perdimos el equilibrio. She read. Ella leyó. Y'all destroyed the tent. Ustedes destruyeron la tienda de acampar. Juan durmió, for John slept. I paid. Yo pagué. She went. Ella fue. He gave me. Again, I'm the one that received the action, but he did the giving. And yo doesn't have an accent, even though it just seems like it'd be so good there, but no accent. Él me dio. We put pusimos. You could also put nosotros pusimos if you wanted to. That would be fine. All right, you saw. Tú viste. Again, you don't need the two, so either one would have been right. She and I left. Ella y yo fuimos. They approached me. Ellos me acercaron. Martha served me. Marta me sirvió. They took me. Ellos me llevaron. I think I probably was thinking of the verb traer when I put this, but that would be kind of weird. That would be like they took me like a prize or something. It doesn't fit there. So if they took me to school, like I taught y'all a few weeks ago, like my mom takes me to school, it's the verb llevar. If I want to say they took with the verb traer, it would be like, it's more like brought. And it's like they brought cookies to the party, they brought cups to the party, things like that. So anyway, it's llevar. You would never have to choose between those two on the test, unless for some reason in the future chapters of this year, there might be a traer versus llevar, and in that case you would need to know. But in this section, you'll only have one. It'll either be llevar or it'll be traer. All right, you couldn't. Tú no pudiste. Again, you don't need the two, so no pudiste is just fine. It started to snow. Empezó a nevar. Excuse me. Regular preterite endings. All right, so I've got my regular preterite endings here. These are AR endings. These are IR and ER endings right here. So, aste, iste, aste, o, imos, aron. All right, you're welcome. All right, that should be your new ringtone. All right, Ir, ser, dar, and ver. So I've got those without accents. They have absolutely no accents, and they all end with I in the yo form, which is different from any other preterite verb. Well, it's not any. There's your ER, IRs up here. They have an I. But I without an accent are just these verbs right here, and it's these four. And they also have, they just kind of follow a weird pattern. Now, you know the fui, fuiste, fue, the ir and ser have E in the LA and usted form, which is completely weird. So make note of that. Everything else ends in O of some form in the bottom left box. So anyway, here's your irregular preterite verbs, and I need to make that smaller for y'all. Sorry, I needed to shrink it for this one, but you've got all these right there. Oh, look at that. It cut off the bottom right there. So tuve, tuviste, tuvo, tuvimos, tuvisteis. Let me see if I can get that. All right, so here's your verb charts for you. I had to shrink the middle rows and these bottom ones because the charts were so small. They all follow the exact same pattern. Here's their endings right here. Iste, o, imos, istes, ieron. 0 accents. And also, so they all follow that form except for these last 3. Dijo, trajo, and hizo. Or dich, traj, and ich. Anyway, so the dijo and the dich and the traj and the ellos, ellas, ustedes forms end in eron instead of ieron, okay? And then the is form in the bottom left box ends in a zo instead of a co. And the reason for that is that if I had a c and an o next to each other, the rules of pronunciation would dictate that it would be a hard c. And since we want that soft c sound, we've made it a z. So iso. So I've got those in bold, those weird ones. Otherwise, all of these end in the same endings. You really need to memorize the stems and what they mean. That's really where you're going to get in trouble here. Otherwise, you're memorizing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 verbs with one set of endings. So it's not that bad. But again, you need to know what the stems look like and you need to know what they mean. So tuv is from tener, that's had in the past tense. Anduv is went walking, went for a stroll. Estuv is was or were. Pud is could. Pus is put. Soup is new, like saber. Vin is to come, so came. Dich is told or said. Tra is brought. And is is did or made. All right, I to Y verbs. I to Y verbs only change in the bottom boxes. All right, so that's the ellos, ellas, ustedes form and the el, en, usted form. So the only times that it's going to be I to Y is when it's in those bottom left boxes. And I was telling somebody the other day, if it makes more sense for you to write these out where you've got the U and the I and the R, and then you cross off the IR, and then you add the regular, let's go back up here, EO ending right here, and then you're going to have UIO, and together that's going to make UIO, and it's going to make that sound, and maybe that'll remind you that you need to have a Y there. But double vowels means check it out, it needs to have a Y in the bottom left and bottom right box, and that's only there because only in that bottom left and right box do I have 2 vowels next to each other again. Okay, so double vowel verbs. Anyway, destruir and construir and any UIR verb only has an accent on the I and the yo form. All the other double vowel words have accents on all forms except for this bottom right box. And that's an accent on the I in each one of those boxes, except for obviously there's no I here, so it's an accent on the O. Stem changing verbs. Oh, I'm sorry, that's it on the double vowel verbs. Stem changing verbs only change in the bottom boxes as well. That's why I have these next to each other. And they must follow the following 2 rules. Now, instead of memorizing all this crazy stuff as to how to do a stem changer, remind yourself this. Is it an IR verb? Because if it's not an IR verb, don't waste your time. Is it a stem changing verb? So first of all, is it an IR verb? If it is, then ask yourself, is it a stem changing verb in the present tense? If so, then it is a stem changing in the preterite tense. Only 2 types. I've got E to I, and then I've got O to U. And they use the ER-IR verb preterite chart, or preterite verb chart. So I've just grabbed this from up above. Iste, io, imos, istes, and ieron. Same thing as above. So, pretty easy. Let's see if I've got one right here. All right, so number 27, Marte, Jorge. Either one of these was a stem changing verb in the present tense. So this was actually decidir. So if I were to get rid of that real quick, decide, used to say deced, D-E-C-E-D, and it's an IR verb, decidir, right? You can hear that ir at the end of it. And it's also stem changing in the yo form, or excuse me, in the present tense, which would be decido, decides, decide. So I know it's a IR verb, and I know it's stem changing in the present tense. So it went E to I, and that was easy because there's no O in the stem to change to a U. So decidieron, and instead of preferir, which is the verb here, and so prefer, it became prefir. So decidieron or prefirieron, and that's how stem changing verbs work. Otherwise, here's your answers. María no llegó a la fiesta hasta las 10. El oso apareció or me asustó. Either one of those would have worked. Sorry, I wasn't more specific. Ella se despertó al amanecer. Cuando tú me dijiste que el perro te mordió, no te creí. Hey, when you told me that the dog bit you, I didn't believe you. Lo siento, I'm sorry. Marta y Jorge decidieron, they decided or preferred to go to the desert because they're weird. Julio y Diana trajeron unos pasteles a la fiesta. Julio and Diana brought some cakes to the party. And the lightning scared me. Me asustó. When you're taking this test and you've got 3 sections that are very similar to this, but they've got a word bank for you, and you're not going to have to choose between apareció and asustarme or asustarse or whatever. First of all, it's not a reflexive. You're not going to have, that's not, that, yeah. This is an indirect object pronoun again. But anyway, you're not going to have to choose between those two. It's not going to be something where you're having to guess between 2 different verbs. If that becomes a case, if 2 of the verbs confuse y'all as a class, then we'll make that change. But you'll have a word bank, which is nice. And you do need to understand what the sentence is saying to be able to choose the right verb. So, cuando tú me dijiste que el perro te mordió. Mordió, that would be where you'd get up and say, what does that mean? And I would say bit. So, when you told me that the dog bit you, there's the te, I didn't something you. Well, what did I not do? And then I'm saying, I'm sorry, I didn't believe you. So that's where creer would come in. So hopefully these sentences, el oso something and I screamed, the bear something and I screamed. It either came close to me or it scared me and I screamed. Either one of those makes sense, right? Maria didn't come to the party until 10 or didn't arrive at the party until 10. Arrive is the right one, but you could also put vino. And again, you would not be choosing between the 2 on your test. So hopefully that makes sense. This is what you want to be the most ready for. When I say down here that you need to know all of your vocabulary, including a ver si recuerdas, the first thing I would do is go through and write your verbs down on a sheet of paper and then cover up the meaning and go down and rewrite the verbs that you don't know. Only rewrite the verbs you don't know. And then write what their meanings are and then cover them up again and then try to guess what they mean again. And again, if you do know the verb, then don't write it down again. If you don't know the verb still, then write it down. And your list is going to get smaller and you'll be able to memorize those verbs. But the verbs are going to be the biggest deal on this test. There is a little bit of vocabulary, but I think a lot of them are cognates. I think we've gotten used to a lot of them. So the big deal is the verbs and all the different kinds of verbs. So hopefully you can remember all these rules. And that's it. Good luck. Buena suerte. Nos vemos mañana.